subtropical forest. And then comes the majority of the forest in the, other than the tropics, the boreal forest, 27% of the forest. And then temperate forests, 16%, then subtropical is 11%. Right. Now, due to global warming, people are talking about the changes in boreal and temperate forest. Okay, they are greening. So we are getting more forested region here. So you can see the location where the tropic is. Tropical, subtropical, temperate, and boreal in terms of the climatic latitudinal control. You can see. And then how different countries contribute to this global forest. You can see that Russia contributes 20%. And Russia, you can see mainly they are boreal and temperate, right? Here in the blue color, and then the greenish color, parrot green. So they consist of 815 million hectares. It's a huge area because the land area is huge. Then comes the Brazil. They are mainly tropical forests. They contribute 12% to the globe. Because in Africa, so there are many countries. They are divided small. So country-wise, if you see, they are contributing less, and hence they don't come into picture. So Canada is again the boreal and temperate. They are 9% for the global forest. USA is contributing 8%, China 5%, and India is nearly 2%. So our total geographical area is 328 million hectares, out of which 71 million hectares is roughly our forested area. And remaining rest of the world contribute to 44. That means these 5-6 countries, they really contribute to 56% of 56%. 1 second, yeah. 1 second, please, excuse me. I have, yeah. Thank you. So 56% of the global forest comes from these countries. 5-6 countries, and then remaining contribution is from other area. Mainly they are in the Indonesian, Philippines, and then African countries, rest of them. Now, what we can do with the remote sensing GIS, we all know that we have been using, most of you may be using. We want to make the map which are revealing the forest type and then where they are distributed. That is related to inventory. We want to also estimate the volume and biomass assessment. That is also inventory. Close watch on unwanted intrusion into the forested area. That is related to protection. Now, in the right-hand side, I have mentioned the thick black color right means remote sensing GIS can do much more. The slight line means, yes, it can do, but people need to put extra effort. Okay. So there is no tick means that has not been really used from the satellite point of view. Close watch of unwanted intrusion, because when you go at the ground level, then the area becomes huge. So then, and hence penetrating inside the canopy from satellite data is a little difficult. Okay. So identifying forest by threat and safety measure. This is also a part of protection of forest. Yes, we can do with the remote sensing GIS models. Identifying a disease threat, yes, that is also possible because the signature of spectral reflectance will vary if the tree is affected by some kind of infestation. Also, for wildlife assessment counting, from satellite we cannot really see because they are the dynamic animals. So they have been moving here and there. So it is related to inventory, but we need a ground-based survey. So there is no tick here. Wildlife monitoring and anti-poaching, again, monitoring means we know the habitat. That means slight information we can derive from satellite. That is the tick is a thin tick. We get the information with the habitat. We can take the suitability modeling, but we cannot really do anti-poaching. Okay, that is all ground-based. We need to have protection mechanism. But now people are using drone. That is the latest technology. Okay, that is not. We are not going to cover that one. Identifying potential area for future harvesting. Yes, that is very much possible. And then change assessment and monitoring. This is mainly needed for protection conservation mechanism. We can very well use remote sensing and GIS data. And then our documentation of all the things, status archival, that need to be done manually with a human knowledge, interpretation of images. That will be a documentation part. So these are the broad area where so far remote sensing and GIS has been extensively used, right? Okay, now we know that because human population is increasing globally, and hence we need wood and fodder and food, many things, herbs, even for medicinal plants, they go inside the forest, they disturb. There's a lot of disturbance. Now you can see one example of the time series satellite application. In 1994, January, the satellite data taken over Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. You can see in the top. So this image is 1994, you can see. And this image is 1999 after 5 years. Then after 2 years, okay, 2001, from different satellite data, okay, maybe the sensor because Blissri is an Indian satellite, TM is a Landsat US satellite. Now you can see the change easily, especially, let me take the color of the pointer differently. You see here especially. Hello, can you see? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Very clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can see how the intrusion has happened slowly and steadily, and then there's a huge loss, right? So one can see the change, right? Even this part also one can see the changes, right? Also this part we can see the changes easily. Here the totally, yeah, one can see how human can remove, and then how we can see that through satellite. This is a temporal variability. We are able to see it from the satellite. Okay, easily we can detect temporal. Now from 94 to 99, 5-year gap. Okay, especially in the northeastern region, the data are very difficult to get because of cloud cover. Most of the time, you get a lot of cloud cover, and it is very rare. Sometimes you get 10 to 20% of the year, the period in a year, they are cloud free, right? So continuous monitoring, sometimes it becomes difficult. So I'm talking about the era where in 94 to 2001, you see, at that time, so we were using Landsat, and then later the MODIS came into picture. So they started getting the data every day. Okay. So then the number of availability of information is become tremendous. So now let us see how that will help. So we have seen in the past that snapshot satellite data is very useful, and it has advantage, but it has a disadvantage because there is a continuous information is missing. So now we are talking about continuous real-time forest monitoring. Okay. Now, what do we need, and what do we mean by continuous forest monitoring? So if you want to really monitor the forest holistically, we need to really have the data. We need to understand what's happening on the ground, and we should be able to model it. So what we want to gather, okay, what we want to understand. We want to understand, suppose sometimes people make a mistake, okay. You take a snapshot image, for example, in November. Sometimes they take an image in May. Now they say, oh, the forest was there 5 years before. Now forest is not there. But the time is different because the forest shed leaves. The growth pattern varies. And hence you will tend to make a mistake in the snapshot, especially the beginners, if they really don't understand the growth rhythm, the behavior of the forest or the trees. So what we are looking into the continuous observation so that we get the data continuously, and then we quantify the data. So data is a data. We have to convert it into information. That is the quantifying. Then understand. So our human knowledge, that information will help us to understand the life cycle of the plant or any other entity on the ground. Okay. Also, This continuous data will help us to know the disturbances, how the disturbance has spread over time, like a forest fire or a drought or a disease or even a human intervention, which we have seen in the previous slide, how the anthropogenic degradation has changed from 94 to 2001 in the Assam Arunachal border, right? This is one part, is the physical status. Second comes the invisible actors. For example, climatic and environmental conditions. These climatic and environmental conditions, they are really invisible. How forests react to these climatic situations, it is not visibly very clear, right? So for that, if we want to understand this, we need to really do a lot of analysis. So the holistic monitoring involves these two aspects: physically measurable quantitative information, physical status and its health or degradation. Second is the invisible players and how these invisible players are really impacting this physical status of forest. That is what we mean by continuous forest monitoring. Okay. So now let us move on to next level. Now, so in order to monitor the forest continuously, one need to be very dedicated. Okay, this domain of continuous observation or keeping the record, systematic record, that rhythm is in fact called phenology. Okay, this word was first coined by one botanist in Belgium, Dr. Charles Moran, okay, in late 1840s. And then people, even before that also, people had a hobby. Okay, they observe, okay, when the first butterfly was sighted in my locality, okay, or in BIT campus, for example, you can really want to do when the first dragonfly appears, okay, or honeybee is seen dominantly during which season. Okay, we are observing even in a particular plant when the first leaf has come or when the first flower has come. These are called phenological event, biological events. Okay, in that species annual cycle, we are looking into the first date or time of occurrence of that event. We want to capture it. We want to record it. Now you may be wondering whether people really take pain to do that. Is it useful? Yes, it is very, very useful, and people have really spent their lifetime. Okay. For example, in Japan, many of you may be knowing that they celebrate the blooming of cherry tree. Okay, when the cherry tree is fully bloomed, there is a national holiday. The people go on picnic and they celebrate. And earlier it used to be only with the aristocratic family. They go and be with that bloomed cherry tree and they enjoy. They write poems. They do art. So this culture is very dominant in Japan. And then this record of the peak blooming date of cherry for the past 1200 years is systematically recorded, is kept there beautifully. People have published also. And also in UK, so one Mr. Robert Marsham, he has kept the systematic record of how the plants and animals are reacting to the different season. What is their behavior? So he studied systematically. He has kept a record. Even till date, his family has kept the record into even up to 20th century. You can imagine. Okay, from 1736 onwards, they are able to keep certain things. These are the individual people, those records today scientists are using, and then they're trying to understand what was the climatic situation, temperature, the rainfall condition during those 300 years before, right? We'll see that, okay? Now one may ask, the continuous monitoring of forest or a species, the vegetation is very, very important because vegetation provides us food and they control the environmental weather parameters, right? And also they are the life-giving kingdom for many lowest substrata livelihood entities, right? For example, birds or insects or many things they depend upon the basic producers. They are vegetation, okay? Now this data is helping us to recreate the past climatic condition. For example, in UK, there is uh, what used to they are good in growing grape wines because they produce wine industry. Okay, and for the wine industry they need to know when the grape will be harvested. Okay, they keep the record of grape harvest. So based on the harvest date from the record, now we can understand when the grape will get matured, what are the climatic requirement for that particular plant. That means we know, okay, in 15th century, the climatic situation would have been like this. So we can simulate, recreate that environmental conditions. People are doing that in Europe, okay? And phenology is nothing but your leaf growth, okay? When the sunlight start increasing, the amount of radiation available for the plant to grow, especially in the northern latitudinal countries, it is full of snow during winter. Now, when the spring start coming after March in the northern latitude country, so slowly, steadily, the snow start melting up, and then the plants start getting the sunlight. So, depending upon the availability of sunlight, they try to produce their leaves. That means that is called photosynthetic production. The biomass we can estimate how much of energy, how much of production will happen in a tree. That can be modeled. There are models, and then we can also understand how much of energy will be reflected back. Albedo is talking about the reflectance from the whole spectrum of electromagnetic wavelength. Then it will be albedo, total energy reflected back from the ground or from the landscape. Okay, that we can quantify. Carbon, amount of carbon being utilized in biomass creation, and then energy cycle like a sunlight or the carbon intake or water intake, they are going to alter the global climatic circulation. And hence understanding the surface albedo, photosynthetic absorption of carbon and sunlight, and then water utility, they are very important. Today, without these information, you cannot make a good global model, right? Now, earlier people used to calculate only the circulation model, considering the wind pattern, evapotranspiration. Now people are seriously considering the role of phenology induced carbon absorption and energy water cycle into their model, right? And then last but not the least, biodiversity is also a parameter which, while understanding the phenology, we can also understand how our vegetation growth rhythm is linked to biodiversity. Okay, if there are different vegetation types and then they all have different rhythm, so then we can understand what kind of species may exist there. For example, if suppose a bird will start its nesting, okay, and laying its egg, it knows that okay, after a particular 3 or 4 weeks time, my kids are going to be there, and then for that my kids, my children, I need to bring in my insect, the food. So insect will come only where there is a food right on the ground, or if there is a food falling down, there may be a kind of rotting effect and the insects are being created. So there is a rhythm associated with the life of birds and insects with the life of vegetation. Suppose assume there is a bird kingdom and which without understanding the vegetation rhythm, if they start building a nest, they will die of hunger. Okay. So if also it may be possible if the forest suddenly it changes its rhythm, then also the bird kingdom or the animal kingdom, insect kingdom, they may get confused. So there is going to be a chaotic environment in a different livelihood. So even the human depends upon the fodder, and hence, so there is a interconnectivity between the vegetation that is at the base of the pyramid. They are the producer. If the base collapse, then all the above floors will collapse. So now that is why today we are talking about holistic forest monitoring. That is nothing but phenology in short. Now, what will happen to our growth rhythm if there is a change in the climatic environment? Now assume this is my full growth of a vegetation starting from January to December. Okay, so that means during this particular period there is a peak growth. Okay, now This is assumably, okay, assume this is the situation now. It may be possible that what will happen, whether the growth rhythm can become the new altered annual cycle. Will it become this or not? Hypothetically, if one can ask this question, right, when it will happen, whether is it happening or not? What does it mean? Now let us see what does it mean. If I say the red shaded area is the growth rhythm and the green shaded area is the growth rhythm in some other place, what is the difference? I can say, okay, in the red area, the spring is appearing earlier and delay and fall is occurring in the late. Okay. It is possible today also it is happening, especially in the tropics and also hilly region. In the hilly region, the vegetation will grow late because in a hilly the snow will be there, the cold wave will be there. But in the plain, the vegetation will come fast. So red shaded area may be the kind of plants which are in the plain area. And the green shaded area may be the plants which are in the hilly region. But now what is happening, if the area, the plants in the hilly region need to grow early, it will grow only when there is a suitable temperature availability, right? Because there the water is there, temperature is not there. So global warming is going to provide that extra warmth in this period. So when the warmth is there, there will be a quick melt of water, snow, and then the plants will come faster. Same here, during the winter also there is a warmth, so plants will not shed its leaf quickly. So there will be a delayed fall and there will be early spring in the higher latitudinal countries or in the altitudinal region. So this is what going to happen in the future. It is already being monitored, it is changing, and plants have the wonderful adaptive ability. They can adapt quickly. But this adaptation, whether what is the critical threshold of this adaptation, whether they will lose that adaptation at one point of time or not, that is a critical question here. But first of all, we need to understand what is happening. Can we quantify, right? Theoretically, yes, they are adapting, but how much, when, can I simulate? Okay, that is what the question. Now, even in this variability, people ask whether it will expand in both the direction. What is the possible scenario? The possible scenario would be, let us see, this is the original rhythm. This green would be one possibility. The whole growth may shift early. This is one possibility. Or whole growth may shift delayed. The blue one, that is another possibility. Then the whole growth may get diminished. Okay. The purple, that is another possibility. Or the whole growth will get expanded, or the intensity vigor will also get exaggerated. This is another possibility. So these are four different possibilities one can look into. And in which location such each one of these possibilities occurring, that the finding of that information itself is very important for the climate modelers. Okay, also the conservation specialists and the biologists. Okay, even for the zoologists who are working at the ground level in the bushes, also beneath the litter fall, the insects. So that will also contribute. Especially if you go to northeastern region, they are prone to mosquito vector-borne diseases, encephalitis and other things. And those mosquitoes, they are forest-borne, okay? They stay in the forest, in the water pond, small water stagnant area, and they come to city and then they bite human. So the vegetation also contributes positively also to the negatively, and hence today if you see the occurrence of mosquito earlier in Europe and all, the concept of mosquito was not there. So now because of global warming, the warm and environmental climatic conditions allowing the insects and the species to migrate. So these are the other consequences one has to face. That is not our domain of interest. We will be focusing only on the vegetation aspect, right? Now, as I was telling you earlier, the peak bloom dates of cherry in Japan, the record as provided by the Osaka Prefecture University. And yeah, I have given the source. This graph can give us a hint when during the 800 and during 2016, one can see there is a fluctuation, okay? But here you can see a consistent trend towards early occurrence. This is a clear-cut indication of warming, actually. This is a pure anthropogenic influence, right? And hence, the people are serious. Now, the recent IPCC report is also has given a warning to human society that please take care of your actions. You cannot grow infinitely without impacting the nature. Your growth has to be sustainable. How can we do? There are a lot of talks have been done at the international and the national level, but still, as long as the business is there, we are looking everything from the business point of view, then we will be at loss. Our future generation will be at loss. So now let us go back to our point. What are the evidences? Whether the climate is changing, whether the vegetation is reacting to that. These are one of the evidences. Other evidences also coming from UK. So people have observed that you can see here the first day, the date on which the first leaf came into picture in the oak tree. So there is a clear-cut trend. Okay. In 1954, the day is 120. The Julian is 120. 120 means nearly end of April, early May. This is early May was the date where the first leaf is generally observed. New leaf is coming from the oak after the winter. But today, so it is occurring in the 90th. That means end of March. You can say early May to end of March. There is a 1 month shift in the last 50 years. There is a fluctuation. However, the trend is a more important factor. Whether the fluctuation, one fluctuation can be like this, okay? That is your mean is constant. Another fluctuation can be like this, your mean is going down. So the trend going down, that means the spring is coming early, that is a clear indication of your global warming. Also, there is a trend, slight trend towards increasing temperature. Naturally, the temperature is the main factor in the higher latitudinal countries about for the growth of the vegetation. So there was a paper like greening of earth, right? The greening of earth. Even you can see the long back, historically, the earth was maybe a snowbound, right? Full of snow. Then it started greening, right? So now the second way of greening in the higher latitude is due to global anthropogenic induced. Earlier, they were maybe due to volcanic eruption and the natural disturbances which has contributed in melting of snow. But today, the human-emitted pollutions are the factors. So why do the plant do adaptation? Naturally, to escape from the harsh environment or to utilize the favorable conditions. They adapt to the favorable situation or to the harsh situation. Also, that is very important. Okay, they also do the reproduction. Okay, in order to keep the uniformity among the species, they do a similar behavior. Okay, so to avoid the disparity in the reproduction pattern, right? There is a population, there is also stress because they also compete for the resources, sunlight availability. The plant which grows fast, they grow tall, then that canopy will occupy, they will take the maximum sunlight. The other plant which grows slow, they will not be able to penetrate that, the dominant one. And hence, so every plant try to compete and then utilize the energy maximum to occupy their own space so that they survive. That is the second aspect of phenology, why the plant adapt. Now, let us see what leaf cycle is. Okay, we all know, especially in the higher latitudinal country, so the leaf color changes, right? Even in Kashmir, you can see the color changes. Even we have seen in tropics, from green to brown is very common. We see from here to here it has gone. We see this type of dry leaf very often. We also see this one. But these colors we don't see often in India, especially in the middle and south. Right, in the north, yes, one can see. The reason behind this color has a link with the chemical pigment. So these pigments are the cause. When it is green, the chlorophyll pigment is playing a role. When it becomes yellow, and becomes a carotenoid or the xanthophyll. Even the banana leaf, they have that yellow color, banana cover. That is also the chemical, xanthophyll, right? Carotenoids. So these are the chemical. And then comes the reddish tone, purple tone, they are anthocyanin, right? The red color, purple color, or the tannins, the brown color, they are all chemical. Even the hyperspectral remote sensing, if you can really see how these different chemicals are having the spectral reflectance, you can also match, pattern matching, then you can see at what stage of senescence the plant is there. That can be easily modeled, right? Now, because of this, the spectral reflectance pattern changes, your NDVI value changes, then you can easily, and when the tannin is more, there is no chlorophyll, there is no spectral reflectance, and your the energy value in NDVI will be very low. So you can see that if you take the different time series NDVI value, that is the time in the x-axis, y-axis NDVI or the VI, in a year, this is a one whole year growth. The red color is the actual one. The green color is the smoothed one. It has to follow the original. The fluctuations will affect our calculation. To avoid the fluctuation, we do smoothing. Okay. Now comes, okay, right. How does it look, this variability on the ground? Today, thanks to the technology, we can install the phenocam on the forest. Okay. Now, today we have a project in our department with the SAC, and we are going to install the camera in Dalma Wildlife Sanctuary, and we are going to monitor the climatic variability, climatic influence of the vegetation. So how it will look like, okay, if you're on the ground. Can you see the video? Can you see the video? Is it visible on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see this is taken during a spring to summer, okay? From spring, there was no leaf at all. And then from after the temperature starts increasing, you get the, here in the top left, you can see it is taken from the webcam of the Harvard forest. And these images are freely available in the internet. Okay, you go to US Phenocam network, there are points, and they have given the daily data of the Phenocam data are for all the network freely. Okay, and they are also recording the temperature, at what temperature, what was the air temperature, what is the camera temperature, what are the humidity, what are the pressure, they all maintain. Okay, so this is every day one snap, this is taken, but they have the more data at different time. Okay, and this white color is a reference. Okay, so white color will tell me how much of energy actually from sun energy we are getting. So with respect to this white, all the pixels will be normalized so that we can compare uniformly. This is during spring to spring growth. Also, one can see during the senescence, right? From the green to no leaf pattern. So they are getting browning, you see. Here you can see the browning pattern. So in the spring, there was no browning pattern because the no leaf to leaf is only a greening, right? Here also you can see during November, from which date to which date the leaf is gone totally, the energy is lost. So here the sun energy will not be playing a role after once the leaves are lost. Okay, so then your atmospheric climatic circulation will vary, then that will be useful for predicting when is the critical point of change in the weather. One can predict, okay, even a month in advance. Right, so this is based on the ground. We have given the basic argument background, right? Because only the understanding is very important. Then comes the statistical part or the remote sensing part. Right. Now, saying is easy, but doing is difficult. For example, if I tell a botanist or a biologist, okay, ecologist, you go to ground, you measure the amount of leaf fallen from the particular tree continuously and tell me when the total leaves are lost. Or I tell ecology, you go and watch this tree, you tell me when the full tree is green, tell me. So the ground-based observation has a limitation. I mean, we can only see one or two trees because you cannot see the whole area, right? And also the only few species. Spatially, my coverage sampling area is very limited. and I need to really spend a lot of money in giving salary to the manpower, and sometimes the possibility of bias will be there. Now what happens? You tell a person, okay, every day you go and take a photo. That is other aspect. He has to show the photo. Or if you tell him, okay, every day go and see how many leaves are there roughly, you just write down some figure. Sometime what will happen? He will not go. He will sit in house. He said, okay, yesterday I saw only 10% leaves were there. Today it will be 12%. He will write simply 12%. Right? It happens, whenever we do a rainfall observation earlier time, people have to really go and make a note of, okay, what are the rainfall amount. So people don't go. Just they will take a register, they will write some number. So there is a bias. Human bias is always there. So how can we avoid such things? Because ground-based observations need to be eliminated, and we need to go into the remote sensing based, drone-based or sensor-based, satellite-based, many things we are talking about today, only because, not because we don't want to employ people, just because reduce the uncertainty, reduce the bias, and get more accurate information so that my model will be better. So field-based is traditional, spatially discontinuous, time-consuming, limited accessibility, and long-term records are few, very limited long-term records, though they are there. Okay, observational bias is also a weakness. In remote sensing, we have spatially continuous data temporarily, but short-term record, recent records, if the person who is processing it, if he do not have the capability, then he may do some kind of technical error. That is the major part one has to be careful before using such vast volume of data. Another limitation is the huge volume of data. You need to have software packages. You need to have a understanding of the data. So I'll just show you, if I see the continuous data, this is not corrected. This is uncorrected data. I'm showing the VI. This is a modest data. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you see, okay, in one time the place may be green. Immediately next one it may become red. Okay. The continuity is not there. This is an uncorrected mosaic of satellite data. Okay. The continuity is not there. Okay. This is from the modis. So if we correct it, okay, what will happen? Using the corrected data, you can have a continuous. So it's a very smooth variability of phenological observation. So you can see even agriculture area also you can see, especially during the Gangetic belt, you see along the Gangetic belt which region is having the crop first and where the crop is second. In the top left you can see the date and month. Okay. So you can see the date and month, everything. And different places have a different, especially this Godavari belt using the cropping pattern. They have a double crop, triple crop. Okay, even in Bihar they have a triple crop some area, right? So even vegetation along the Western Ghats, you can see in Kerala, they are vegetation which are natural forests. Okay, and especially along the Gangetic, Godavari, Assam, this one, Brahmaputra, you can see the agriculture belt. They are yellowish. Even in Bengal, you can see the agriculture growth through them. So we can convert this information into quantitative things, right? So, right. So when we are talking about understanding phenology, what do we mean by understanding phenology, right? As I told you earlier, there is a pattern, there is a rhythm. Why the rhythm is so? Why it is happening? What is the relationship with the drivers like a temperature, precipitation, or the photo period, or the chilling period? So it will vary from species to species, biome, or the environmental condition. Even if you take one district or one state, the 10 district may fall in different kind of environmental condition, different altitude environment. So it's going to be a diverse variability. So one of my PhD scholar has done a work on Himachal Pradesh on the grassland dynamics, on the grassland phenology, a different latitudinal climatic zone. It's a very good paper. Please see in the Indian Journal of Remote Sensing. I will also show that paper later. Then we all have talked about the ecosystem structure and function. Ecosystem structure and function, what do you mean by that? We are talking about the leaf area index or photosynthetic production, carbon cycle. These are ecosystem process, the function, okay? And then if there is a change in phenology, this function will also get more altered. So it will have another feedback to the climate. Today, till this area, this subject, globally, there is no uniform information. Every country, every researcher is publishing, right? So now people are trying to integrate and putting into the global model, right? People have already started doing that, okay? Because we need a plant functional type information. Plant functional type information at different month, at a different location. Earlier in the model, they have given a plant function type. In that one, okay, for all tropic forest, this is the function. So one type of growth rhythm they have taken. But now for every pixel on the globe, the rhythm can be different. So that means your model prediction will be highly accurate. Recently, from 2001 onwards, okay, people are working on phenology in a very big way. You can understand which country is doing a lot of work in phenology. Europe, America, Canada, China, Japan, Australia. India has few, okay. So when I started working in 2008, so I was the first person to publish the phenology of India using for the natural vegetation. There was no other study for the whole India. The information at the very minute level was missing. At a broad level, people have given, even champions say that's given. Okay. There are other people, they have given one growth rhythm profile, but the minute variability is more important for the ecologist. There are 4 types of phenological study. Normally it has been done. One is the ground based or the satellite based. Today people are talking about the flux tower based. Okay. Or you can simulate from the model based on the temperature, humidity, chilling period, photo period, precipitation, one can simulate. And these are the work Fitchett et al. Who has done this study. You can go and look into that paper, what exactly they have done. And you can understand if anybody is working on phenology, this Fitchett et al. Paper will help you what different types of work people are doing. They have done a literature review. So globally, there are huge phenological network. Okay, most of the country, developed country, they have the PhenoCam network. For example, PhenoCam network and Phenological Eye network in Japan, right? Even there are Pan-Europe Phenology project, and in UK they have a Nature's Calendar. You go and search Nature's Calendar. It's a crowdsource based, and then people are using it. And Canada has a Plant Watch. Okay, Australia has a Climate Watch. Right, there are even for the leaf, but first data, the information also being collected. Even the Turkey has a phenology network, right? So recently, ISRO Space Application Center, they are initiating one IGBP based project. Okay, Dr. CP Singh. So we are collaborating with him under that project. We are going to install 17 different phenocam in India with the 17 dominant types of forest. And future, this will act as a base network for Indian phenologic network. So there are efforts by the private people who are looking into the migrant aspect of different birds or the plants or the insects. So here is a migrant Indian effort. The main location of migrant for participation, even you can participate. Okay, even Jharkhand, nobody has participated. That is sad. So we should initiate Vipender and Swayam. Other people, I think we will make some more effort. So you can insert your observation, and then it's a crowdsource. Finland has a phenology network. Their phenology network is excellent because they provide also the leaf color, leaf information. Also, they provide in a beautiful map. For example, you see this map. In this map, they have given the color and different dates. So this date is 29th of April 2007. Okay, every day. Okay, 2000 even year. 29th of April 2008, 2009, 2010. Okay, in all the year on 29th April, there was no bud burst. Okay. Now in 6th of May in 2007, only in 2 places they could see, but in 2008 more, and then not much. So you can see in different years, okay, on that particular 13th of May, all the years. 29th of May, all the years. Okay, 19th of June, all the years. So how light green means the emerging leaves, green means full growth of leaves. You can see that means by July, almost every place is fully grown. Okay, that is, you can see starting from 6th of May to 6th of July, during this period, the tree has become full grown. That is what we are understanding. This is a beautiful way of depicting the image. Okay, the research scholars, you can learn from how they are depicting the image over the last year. For the 10 years of data over a particular country, they have nicely depicted. For different species, they have given for a particular downy birch species. They have also given for different species. You can go and have a look in the Finland observation. Right? Okay. So this is another example, right? In the zoomed in version. Right. What we have done in BIT, okay? So we have quantified the phenology of natural forests in India. We have evaluated different smoothing algorithms, and we have compared the MODIS and GIMS VI. That means MODIS also provides the data at a 16-day. GIMS NDVI also available from 1982 onwards, 16-day. We can compare how these two are, what is the result, whether they are in a similar manner, and in which forest they are not giving the similar manner, why it is so. That type of study also we are doing. Also phenology over USA, and that is validated using webcam. And for the whole globe from 1980 to 2006, above 45-degree north latitude, how this phenology has changed over the last 30 years. So we have done a study, and in the Himachal grassland dynamics for the last 15 years, we have done a study. Agriculture dynamics in Bihar for the last 3 decades, we have done 4 decades, we have done a study. And Hindu Kush Himalaya. So one project we have done for ECMOD, International Center for Integrated Mountain Development in Kathmandu, because they wanted to understand the agriculture growth pattern dynamics in the Hindu Kush Himalaya. The Hindu Kush Himalaya is a huge area. It's a 4 million square kilometer. Yeah. So I think, yeah, it is very huge area. And then for the past 12 years, we have to process. So they couldn't do it. They invited me. So we developed specific software for them. We have quantified it in which country, different places, how much of agriculture, what is agriculture pattern. That is also a time series vegetation monitoring related. Then one interesting study, what we have done is fractal, because the annual growth rhythm is a curve, and that it follows that if we do from the fractal point of view, does it reflect some information? Then we found yes. So different type of species can be easily demarcated, or the different growth profile similarity can be easily demarcated using fractal. Also another new approach called dynamic time warping. So in the dynamic time warping approach, we have identified, suppose if there is a shift in the growth profile, but we don't want to understand the shift. I want to only understand the similarity. So nullifying the shift, it has to find the nearest growth rhythm. That is the dynamic time warping. Here, normally what we do is, suppose if a person is speaking in a phone, okay, and he is mimicking, he is changing his tone, but through dynamic time warping, one can find out what was his original voice, right? What could be. So people are trying to understand the plagiarism even in the music, people are using it. And then we have been doing a lot of software development. We are carrying out one project over northeastern India for the whole vegetation dynamics and then climate influence on the vegetation in the northeast. So I will show you some output from our studies. And So far, any question? Yeah, let me stop here. So any questions? Yeah. So that I am the only person talking, so it would be better if you have any questions, so that after you're clarifying your doubt, we'll go ahead. Any question? So either you fully understand or totally it is above your head. So I hope some of you may be enjoying it. Okay, so I assume you are not having any doubt. Okay, I will take you to the next level. So I will show you the output, what we have been doing. Okay, now what we have done, we have taken few years of data. At that time, only, yeah, we had, when the study was done in 2008, so I took the data from 2003 to 2007. So you can see the original data has a lot of noise, a lot of noise. This need to be nullified, but noise need to be removed, and then it need to be smoothened, right? So this, for doing this process itself, you have to do a lot of coding, a lot of programming, and there were no tools actually. So I had to develop my own tool, and later in Norway also, people have, Dr. Lund and other his team, they have developed one software that is called TimeSat. Okay, so this TimeSat software is a totally a free software, right? This software you can use for all your time series data analysis. Okay, you can go in the internet, you can search TimeSat. But we are using our own, all right? And then using this information, right, we have integrated. We have integrated in terms of different administrative zone, different latitudinal zone, also in terms of homogeneous vegetation pattern, different types. Then we have come out with various statistical information. So our main objective was to derive a representative and reliable phenology map. That is very important point here. So it has to be reliable. The error should be minimal. Okay. And then they should be useful for the ecologists. That means we have to give the statistical, characterize its variability at different location in terms of latitudinal and longitudinal variability. So you can see the greening. When does the greening occur in the natural forest in India? You see in Kerala, the January period is the one after which there is a greening. And the red color means June. You can see in the high latitudinal, high Himalayan region, the greening is starting late. Okay. And in between in the central India, it is nearer to April, May, June. That is the region. Okay. And then even in the northeastern region, Arunachal has a different pattern. And then your other region has a different pattern because the temperature in Arunachal is cold because of altitudinal influence, and the other plain area, they are little warmer. One can get early growth. Okay, and on the right hand side you can see the end, when the end is happening, and then you can understand. Okay, so from October to May, so different places. You see the late growth, June it is starting in the Uttaranchal, and then it is growing and then coming to a senescence, finally no leaf in May. Okay, so one growth cycle here. We have tried 4 different major vegetation type in India: tropical evergreen, tropical semi-evergreen, moist deciduous, and dry deciduous. So this is a simplified GLC 2000 map. So GLC 2000 map is a global land cover map. Today we have European land cover, that means full global land cover, that is available at even very high spatial resolution. Okay, you can see in the internet, you can download. So how did we quantify, right? So we have to find out how much of vegetation is there in a particular operational grid. This grid may be a 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer grid, or maybe a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer grid. So particular vegetation, suppose if you see This is the 1 kilometer land cover on the left hand side. And this is my 5 kilometer pixel. This is the MTCI is a Meares terrestrial chlorophyll index. We have used this index for estimating the growth rhythm. Now this 5 kilometer grid, under this we will have 25 vegetation type information, because 5 pixel by 5 pixel or 1 kilometer will be covered 25. That means the maximum value we get if you do within a grid, if the vegetation type is uniform, that is all the pixels belong to one vegetation type, that means the count will be 25. So 0 to 25 is possible. So you can see the red color. So wherever the red color, that means that particular species is dominant in this red color. So we can find out the dominant area. So you have to take a sample only from this pure dominant region, remember. Otherwise your interpretation will be wrong. So this is how we have looked into, and then we have taken those grid which have reliable, where the vegetation type is less than 10%. For example, in this region, this particular tropical vegetation, the dark green is very, very less. So I should not take any sample from in this region. I can take sample from in this region only. Okay, that too from the core area, not from the outer edges. You have to be careful. Now, if after undergoing this proportion estimate, wherever you see the red color, those are the area where that particular species is dominant. Okay. For example, you see evergreen. So here you can see Nagaland region somewhere that is dominant. Even in Kerala it is dominant, but I could not see much dominant in Maharashtra or in Karnataka. Okay, there are very few. And if you go to semi-evergreen, so you can see also in Kerala, some part of southern Karnataka, also in Andhra Pradesh, also, yeah, now this Andhra Pradesh is divided into Telangana and then Andhra. So in the Arunachal Pradesh also one can have a, for the deciduous forest, the central India, you can see the dominant location of marsh deciduous and dry deciduous. So we have taken the sample from these locations, and those samples from the core area are mentioned here. 59 samples are located. Though in that pixel, 80 to 100% of the vegetation should occur in 5 kilometer, 5 kilometer. So we have taken the sample and we have analyzed their profile. Then we came to know, okay, the evergreen. So in the evergreen forest, okay, you can see the variability of your onset of greening is varying from the early June to your 16 composite. 16 composite means it will be nearly 2 months. So from January to February end, the evergreen has, so because evergreen normally do not shed leaves in a maximum way, in a tremendous way, but there are minute shedding, okay? There are minor shedding. That minor shedding is what we are referring. That is the after shedding, the new growth is, that is even that minute variability is detected in the Meares data, because we are talking about chlorophyll. Any reduction in the chlorophyll production is easily observed. Okay. And then we can see, so where is the dominant time at which your greening is happening in the C is moist deciduous. You can see 14, 15, 16 composite. That is one composite is equal to 8 day. Here the composite number, okay, it's a composite number. One composite covers 8 day. That is 16th composite mean, okay, 16 multiplied by 8, okay. So that will be 68 of 48, 128. It's a day, it's a Julian day. This is, or the day of the year. So 128 means in each year, each month you have 30 days. So roughly 4. Okay, that means 4 months after this is May. So roughly in April, May, the greening is starting in moist deciduous. Okay. Also, you can see in the dry deciduous, there is some peak dominant here, also here. Okay, it also shows, okay, that means the species is occurring in different regions. In different region, the dominance will be, as per the climatic variability, is varying. Here you can also see the multimodal variability. Here is then one group, and here is one group, here is one group, and here is one group. These are nothing but the regions, different regions influence. This is the whole Indian information if you specify. You will have a different, you have to understand, interpret it in a proper way. Then we went ahead and we started looking into different region, okay? And this is the end of senescence. That was earlier, was the starting. This is for the end of senescence. When the leaf fall is happening, at which composite, okay? So you can quantify how much of pixels frequency. Spatially, you can also, because we have taken 1 degree sorry of India topo sheet. In that topo sheet, when the greening is occurring, what is the maximum majority of the species greening? Okay, that majority date we have revealed as a composite number. And also in particular grid, if the percentage of vegetation is less than 10%, then we don't accept it. We also mention whether that is acceptable or not. The reliability information is also provided. We can see, I think, one of, yeah, you see here, the red cross means those grids are having only less than 10% of the vegetation. So you should not rely upon those grids. And hence, this information will also help. This is for evergreen, subtropical evergreen, and then this for semi-evergreen, this for deciduous, moist deciduous, and then reliability check. So one can understand, if suppose some ecologist working in suppose Odisha, therefore he is working in moist deciduous, for example. So he can go and check, validate my finding. Our finding says maybe in Similipal region, this is a moist, in that wherever the moist residue is there, their greening starts from the 12th composite. 12th composite, 12 to the 96, that means the 6th day of April. 6th day of April, the greening will start. That is what the observation made in the 2003 to 2007 period. If there is any change now, that will be a good paper, one can publish, one can understand. Even in the Northeast, somebody is doing, in the past 15 years, is there any major change? Because we have taken the majority information, this tends to be, the variability will not be that drastic recently. In 50 years, yes, 40 years, yes, there may be a change, especially after 80s. People have said, after 80s, the weather pattern has changed tremendously. And hence, before 80 some data from the literature, after 80 some data, that will be a good point to compare. We have also done some case study over the US. Wait a minute, let me see. Yeah, US is there. So what we have done, this is the phenocam locations in USA, right? So I have already shown this different locations. So when we are trying to convert this image into vegetation information, you have to avoid the sky. So that means you have to cut out these images, okay? You have hundreds of images. Every day you have images. But then those images are in RGB. That RGB need to be converted into vegetation index. So there are papers which are giving the index for using the phenocam RGB into index. Using that index, we have converted, and then, yeah. And if you see that particular one portion, okay, how this one portion will, the variation of that VI within that particular window, okay, that is very, very important point, because I am seeing a locality where there are different types of species, different growth, height, everything is there. So in a particular day, if I take a snapshot at different time, you will have intraday variability also. So that is one big uncertainty, because there may be a cloud pattern, there may be aerosol pattern, your energy incoming energy changes, your reflected energy changes. So your intraday variability is one important parameter. If this is the satellite data, this is a satellite derived data, the curve. If you validate with the ground, okay, so this is what? At a different time, yes, there is a relationship, okay? You can rely upon your data, okay? And also this VI index you can derive from satellite, you can validate, you can derive from phenocam, you can validate. Yeah, this curve is from phenocam. Okay. So yes, the phenocam derived VI is also not bad. After reaching the peak, okay, the peak remains for some time. You see, so this is a beautiful period. Whether there is such a rhythm remaining for quite some time, this may be different in different conditions. Okay, yeah, you will get a lot of information to work upon. This is a comparison from MTCI with the VI from camera. Okay, so MTCI is the red dot and the camera is the cross one. So you can see, okay, the peak growth is detected because we are using a near infrared image information, but in the RGB camera, we are not using the near infrared region. Okay, and that may be the reason behind this loss of information from the camera. Here it is telling RGB is low. Okay, visual, it is a visual energy. Here the NR energy is giving the peak. Naturally, it is also kind of stable. Here also there is a stability, here also there is a stability, right? So the relative variability, here it has to be constant, here it has to be constant at the peak. That is fine. But here it is decreasing, here it is decreasing. Here it is increasing, here it is increasing. So there is a rhythm, but with a minor understanding, we can really understand, okay, these two are comparable. Then I would like to show the fractal one. So this is a fractal output. You can see, right, the red color patch is a pure agriculture area, agriculture dominant. So after fractal, the value will be from 1.5 to 1.9. This paper is published in IEEE. Okay. So you can easily differentiate the blue color. Deep blue color is a dense forest. Wherever the deep blue you are getting, you will understand, okay, they are dense forests. Wherever you have a light blue, that means that forest mixed with agriculture. Wherever you have a yellow color is an open forest. Okay, wherever you have cyan color, it's a plantation. So we are able to find out the mixing of different land cover nicely in the fractal work. Also, we have developed some software like this, a stamp. This is developed for easy mode. And then one second. So, what we understand, okay, so we have to be very clear whenever we are working with the different parameter in the software, what is its physical meaning, okay? So, and ecological meaning. So, for example, when I'm talking about a vegetation index, I am mainly talking about the vegetation vigor, okay, health, and the stress also I can detect from vegetation index. Whenever I'm talking about patch size, it's a, in terms of quantity, okay, I can understand. But what I am indirectly relating to the ecological point of view, okay, patch size will have a role in biomass. It can also help in terms of biodiversity or diversity or amount of energy it can capture. If I talk about the patch shape, then it is talking about, we can, from the patch shape, we can say if the shape is particularly uniform, circular, you will have some index value. If they are kind of disturbed, fractal based, so you can understand there is a different pressure. So also you can calculate the exterior to the interior ratio. So this also plays a role in the disturbance aspect. One can also link it with the disturbance. What the porosity is talking about, porosity is talking about, okay, how porous the landscape is. That means the habitat condition is not a good one. It may be indicating a degradation there. Okay. Also, the porosity also has a link with the different type of trees. Okay. Suppose if it is a naturally planted trees, there will be more porous. Okay, because we give space between each plant, human makes. So that is also uniqueness about that particular species also can be revealed from the porosity point of view. The patchiness will give the disturbance information. that means number of patches, number of species, or the number of vegetation type present in my landscape. If more the type, that means more, because if there is homogeneous species, that means the disturbance is less, the dominance is more. Okay. Interspersion, how they are interlinked, okay, that also can be quantified to understand the species migration. Juxtaposition is a very important information, and also provide whether there is a survival threat of that particular species if they are surrounded by the friendly species or non-friendly species. That can also be quantified using the index, juxtaposition index. So whenever you use some index, please consider what is my interpretation. Okay, simply people say VI and then do some calculation. So one has to be really careful in interpreting the data. Right, finally, where we are going ahead, what is our future direction, right? So we want to understand the climate change influence. Okay, that is a very important thing. Now we know the temperature, precipitation. Today we have everyday data, every hourly data we are getting, right? So if we can link it up with the phenological observation of the satellite, we will be able to understand the interaction between the species, also its evolution. Okay. Now, when we talk about the length of growing season, okay, if the length of growing season is increasing, your gross primary productivity will increase, right? Now, what will happen? That means that is going to be increasing the summertime respiration, okay? That means it is going to nullify, okay, or offset the gains accrued due to longer growing period. Okay, for example, now you see there is a, suppose we are telling in spring we have more temperature, so we are going to have more growth, right? There is more biomass, but in summer there is going to be more temperature, there is more respiration. More respiration means more temperature means the stress will be there. The plant will reduce its growth. So one side we are telling, okay, there is a favorable condition in spring, it may grow more, but in summer increased temperature may put pressure to the plant, they may stop their growth. So there is both nullification effect as well as the inducing effect, which need to be computed, analyzed at the different locations. Okay, that is will be related to net primary production. Okay, this is what one Mr. Matthew and Jonathan he said. Regional scale variability of this net primary productivity and its uncertainty in terms of changing climate and the phenology is still not explored. So one can, our research scholar, please keep a note of this. You can explore this. Also, if we are talking about ecosystem conservation, and then we need to understand the precipitation temperature link with vegetation. Recently, we have done one study. So my PhD scholar, Mr. Bipender Singh, there we have done, we have analyzed the central Indian forest. We are doing still. The central Indian forest is full of deciduous dominant, and they are more susceptible to the rainfall and temperature because the sunlight is abundantly available. We see frequent drought in central India. We see also the reduction in rainfall and sometime more rainfall in area. This year, there is a deficit of rainfall, okay, in central India. So now how the vegetation is behaving in during these different extreme conditions, we have also published a paper, we are publishing a paper, and interestingly, we have quantified the litter fall. So far, yeah, it is the first kind of paper for India, also for globe, that new, more robust index is developed, which can quantify the litter fall in central India at different locations. Especially in evergreen, litter fall will be less. Semi-evergreen, it will be little more, but not much. So the deciduous and semi-moist and dry will have different litter fall. And then the litter fall variability spatially can be used for the forest fire modeling as well as for the NPP model, right? Also, this global warming will have a health impact and then disease impact, especially in UK and Europe. People are allergic to pollen. Okay, yeah, pollen means what? The flowering of salt trees. Even in BIT, people are allergic to pollen during the flowering time. There are a lot of so many minute dust particle type the pollen from the vegetation is in the atmosphere. So people, when they inhale, they become allergic. They get flu. They get yeah, some kind of infection, rashes, right, running noses. So in UK, Europe, it is a big problem. That means if you know if this type of temperature and this type of situation is going to happen, and we can alert the people, hey, there is going to be a pollen spread during this period. Please keep a medicine or something. So that kind of applications are also there, right? So now we have not talked about location specific or species specific climate variability. Still much work need to be done. Okay. From the literature review of Fisher 2015, okay, so one can understand that we can talk about the food security also, ecological stability. One of my PhD student, Sumedha Surabhi Singh, she will be addressing the vegetation resilience in central India, okay, how whether there is ecological stability will be there or not, okay, what is the critical point beyond which the vegetation will die, okay, over a period of 20, 50 years, which are those zones where there is a potential danger, they will not survive, or there is a potential possibility they will survive. We don't know. We have to analyze it, because if the forest goes, I tell you, if the Central Indian forest vanishes, I think India will become a drought-prone country permanently, because they are the one which are they are attracting forest. We are also publishing another paper. We are proving that forest does impact the rainfall and that pattern. What is that pattern? We are working on it. So yeah, there is a very interesting studies that even in our Rig Veda, okay, our great medicinal experts, okay, they have mentioned many different plants, 67 different varieties of plants which are useful. Okay, 81 plants in Ajurveda, Atharvaveda. They have mentioned 290 species of even Sushruta Samhita. They have described the medicinal properties. So many thousands of plants. What does it mean? Without studying the plant carefully, their life cycle, what is their behavior in terms of animal kingdom, how the human can make use of it, all has been vastly studied. And then they have come out with such kind of description. You can go to the website, you can see. But today we are going far away from our traditional knowledge. We have to also link up those traditional knowledge with the modern science. Okay, the record keeping in the modern science, we have become dependent on computer. And yes, the individual hobbies of creating record keeping need to be emphasized among the students and especially school children. Also the affluent people, they have a lot of money. They can keep some kind of hobby. They can develop a hobby to keep record. Okay, so that will be useful for the future generation. Also, we need a linguistic research. You see, for example, okay, most of the literature, they have given everything in terms of wording, writing. But we have to convert that writing into map form. When you read Ramayana, they have talked about the Chitrakoot, and they have talked about some kind of Dandaka forest. They have talked about different locations, right? But when you describe these in a spatial way, where are the locations where Lord Sri Ram has moved to Sri Lanka, then it will give a very different perspective to the children, okay? So you can also understand that time when in the 5000 BC or 10,000 BC, before that when Lord Ram was there, we don't know how the vegetation pattern was there, which are the forests, whether there is a forest today or not, okay? So there has to be somebody, geographers or some any student who is interested in arts, linking with science, they can take up such studies. There's a huge scope in India for doing many more scientific studies. So finally, yeah, there is a noise. Okay. Anybody want to say something? Please.
Sir, I have a question here, sir.
Yeah,
I'm
let me conclude because we are almost at the
yeah,
end.
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So you have to be careful today that we are having Sentinel free, mod is free, right? Everything is free. Landsat is free. GIMS is free. TRMM is free, right? So we are all downloading foreign data again and again. And I tell you, you go the data version, Modis version, which was released in 2002, Modis version 1. Today, it's a Modis version 6. Now, the researcher who has done some finding using that data, with that version of data, if the same study you do now, do you think that version difference will have an impact on the output? Certainly it will have. Okay. So please let me take my tea while I talk. Okay. So that it will become cold. So that means please carefully read the quality parameters of those versions before using it. Without quality information, you simply produce map after map, we are going to be at loss. Okay. Now today we have Indian data, AVIS data. It's a beautiful data, 60 meter, 58.5 meter. It is covering the regional coverage at every 5-day interval. This is a beautiful data, and I request our ISRO people release this data free to whole world, AVIS data, and we will do wonders with that data, I tell you. And then Indian sensor data, again, you have to be careful when you are using regarding atmospheric noise and other noise quality parameters, right? And there is another important information is that mismatch in the tropic interaction. This is another curious area that people are not addressing. Insect, bird, tree. Now, okay, I am interested in vegetation. I have given the phenology of vegetation for India. Now you take a particular one survey of India's topo sheet, one grid of my work, go into that. What is the bird kingdom's phenology or the insect kingdom phenology? Whether whether there is a relationship between the vegetation and that. We need to quantify. There is a huge scope for the biologist, botanist, ecologist to do the work. We have to match this, all the phenological interaction. Then predictive analysis, okay, to develop model we need a lot of sample. Today, the students are sitting in lab, they have never gone to field, and we are publishing. Okay, even my student, they have never gone to Central India, they are publishing paper. I request every student, please go to field. Be in the field during the greening period, okay, or during the senescence period. Be with the people, ask the people what is their opinion, how the ancestors survived, what was their view, and now what is their fear. Okay, the ground record need to be enhanced. Ground sample information need to come dominant. I have shown you for the migrant watch. There are so many states people do not know. People even do not know. Educated community do not know such possibilities are there. So educated community, we need to bring in even the slightest observation, the spatial record. Okay, crowdsourcing. Now go and see the Bhuvan website, there is a possibility. Go and see the Vedas website, there is a possibility. Mosdog website provides a lot of Indian data, precipitation, daily precipitation data, daily evapotranspir data. Mosdog of ISRO data, okay? It's archival of INSAT based, everyday data is available freely. Please download. So if we want to really progress in phenology research in India, if you want to create a strong phenology network in India, we need multi-institutional collaboration. It is not that one person sitting in BIT is working, no. So universities in central India, come and join my work. And university in South India, go and join with somebody who is working remote sensing. You do the ground data, you collect the ground data. So you will also be a co-author, right? We need a framework of data collection. We need a framework of establishing network. So this is the important need of the offer. This, I made a presentation, I stressed the ISRO people, and then I'm happy today the effort has been made to establish the phenology network. 17 cameras they are going to install. I'm very happy about that. A step has been taken. Okay, so with this, these are the references I will share. So thank you very much. Now, now the floor is yours. Please ask whatever the doubt you have. One second. Yes, please. Thank you. Any questions so far?
Sir, I'm Kirti here.
Yeah.
And I had a question. Let's say, for example, I had done some forest mapping somewhere nearer Karnataka, that is the Kabini Reservoir, somewhere around that. So once I do the mapping using machine learning algorithms, what happens is I get a model and it maps things. But how do you compare it with the ground data? Is it possible? Or just because of the unavailability of the ground data, we go for this kind of mapping? So what do you suggest I do in these kind of cases? Because I just want to confirm whatever output I have got is actually conforming to the ground truth.
Okay. That's a good question. Okay.
Yeah.
Today, because mapping level, we have crossed long before. Okay. 20 years before, even 25 years before, we have crossed the mapping. And I am happy to say today that we have a very high spatial resolution, 30-meter spatial resolution vegetation type map is available for India. Okay. Okay. There is a website. Even in Bhuvan, you can go and have a look. Okay. You can go and have a look at the biodiversity information system, BIS server. Okay. In IR, they are hosting. They are providing this vegetation type map. You can zoom in. You can go and see what is the type map they have represented. So Dr. P.S. Roy, he was the ex-director of IARS and deputy director of NRC. He published a paper. I was one of the co-author in 2015. We have released that map, okay, for the whole India, vegetation type map. Okay. So that will be your best reference point. Okay. Another reference point would be, globally there are many countries, they are also releasing the whole globe map, land cover map. Okay. Europe has a public global land cover, GLC, 2009 you can see, okay. Or the Maldives also land cover data you can see, okay. First point would be go to Bhuvan, zoom in, have a look whether you have vegetation type map or not, land cover map or not. Every 5 year, I tell you, every 5 year, ISRO maps the land cover of the whole nation. And the land cover forest type will not be there. At least you know forest presence or the grassland presence, wasteland, wetland mapping, all the mapping available there. The forest type map, you please go to the biodiversity information system, BIS server, okay?
Okay. But I checked the Bhuvan website, sir. The thing is, they have data only till 2015-16. It has not been mapped later to that. So, let's say, for example, I'm working on 2021 kind of a data. So, again, in that case, 15 data would be kind of outdated.
You see, vegetation type, especially the reserve forest, national park, protected forest, they don't change much, you know.
Okay.
So you don't see that today it is there, tomorrow it is not there. Okay. The agriculture may change dynamically. Human settlement may expand, but vegetation type map will not change that often. Okay. Unless until there are some edges, there are some degradation that is possible, or forest fire. These are the disturbances one can expect. Any other question, please? Anybody?
Yes. Yes, Dr. Jayapal, ask question.
Yes, Dr. Jayapal.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. Yeah, I have two questions.
Please.
First question is, it is shown about fractal-based approach in your PPTs.
Right.
Generally, fractal consists of self-similarity property.
Right.
So how did you use that property in your methods? So what is the purpose of using fractals?
Okay.
The first question. Second one. Yeah, I will ask a second one also. Yeah. I think you understood, sir, the first question. Yeah. Yeah,
Go
second
ahead.
one,
I understood. Yeah.
second one is you are showing every time vegetation changes.
Uh-huh.
So through remote sensing. So definitely for every vegetation changes, corresponding some electrical properties changing. No? So what are the electrical properties changing corresponding that vegetation? That's the second concept. Yeah,
Now,
that's
what
it.
do you mean by electrical property? Because the leaf
Uh,
has a chemical content. Okay.
yeah.
So the chemical content, there is a reaction going on. Okay. Sunlight is providing energy. Water is there.
Yeah,
Carbon
yeah. My
dioxide
my
absorbed.
idea is not that property because you
Uh-huh.
are observing vegetation changes through remote sensing. So the properties of satellite, the property sensors, properties will change. Because you are mapping. Definitely, you can't identify the changes of vegetation directly because
Correct.
you are mapping through changes of electrical properties of sensors. So what are
Right.
the properties are affecting through changes? That's my questions. Yeah,
Okay. So
I
these are
think.
your two questions. Anything more?
Yeah, yeah, that's all. I
Okay.
think you gave idea about the validation of the ground truth data also. I think I have that question, but already you covered that. I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
will. Ms. Kirti also asked that question. How will you validate? I will also address that
Yeah.
again. Okay. So first question, fractal. How did we use fractal? Okay. You have annual data. You have annual profile, right? Now this annual profile at different pixels are not uniform. You know, they are each pixel is having mixed type of species, right? One pixel, suppose 250 meter by 250 meter module pixel. So you see in 250 meter by 250 meter, you may have some building, some grassland, some scrub or some tree or some agriculture, something. That means this together when you make a profile and you compare it, okay, if you have only two, then only pure forest, what is the profile? Do you think both will be same? No, they will not be, right? That means what is the change? Which part it is changing? That is, these two profiles are different. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to make a window, small box. I am going to move that box over this profile. How many boxes I am covering? Okay. So I am going to, and I am scaling it down. I am scale my profile into another level. Then I count, scale it down, scale it down, scale it down. At different scale, I am counting the number of boxes. Okay. Then we can link it to the fractal dimension. And if you plot it at a different scale, the count, how much is the count, you get a fractal dimension. So that is how we have quantified the annual profile. Annual profile degraded to different scales, different temporal scales, then plot it, the relationship, your scale versus your account, then you get a fractal dimension. That is how we have estimated. There is a paper, I will share it with you, okay, where we have clearly explained how we are estimating that, okay. Okay. Now the
Yeah.
second question. Second question is, you were talking about the change, right? What was your exactly? What was your focus in the second question?
I think that
Yeah. And second question.
change in spectra or electric. You
Right,
were
electric
asking.
property. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. So what you were actually see when we are seeing the reflectance from the ground, the camera has a different wavelength sensitivity. Okay, they are detecting through the charge coupled device (CCDs), and they are before the energy is splitted into different wavelengths, they're filtered. Okay, how much of energy is from a particular blue band, green band, red band, near infrared band, shortwave infrared band? There is a different wavelength, the energy will be different because I have to show you the spectral profile. 1 second, I have one presentation. Let me see whether I have that profile or not. 1 second, just it will help you. Not this one. Maybe. Hallelujah. Thank you. Here also not there. I have a clear cut one information that would be easy. Yeah, okay, I'll show you here. Yeah. You see, can you see this profile? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. You see, x-axis is the wavelength, y-axis is the different percentage of reflectance from different vegetation or the land cover feature. You see the grassland. Okay. The grassland is a dotted line. The energy coming from the energy reflected by the grassland at different wavelength is different from the pine wood. Okay. Right? The pine wood and the grassland, they have maximum difference in the near infrared region. You can see this region. Correct?
Yes.
Isn't it? That
Yes.
means the energy coming from grassland is in fact more compared to the pine wood, interestingly. Okay, because pine don't have a very broad leaf, you know, they are a very narrow structure, right, relatively, but the grassland has a green, more chlorophyll, but in this area we are talking about the fiber related. Near infrared plays a more role in the fiber, okay. So you can have a different reflectance pattern. If you are talking about the exact mechanism behind the reflectance, this picture will help you. You see, in the green color, the green wavelength, the chlorophyll plays a major role, the leaf pigment. In the NIR region, the cell structure plays a major role. And in the shortwave near infrared region, water content plays a role. So these, if the leaf has a water stress, what will happen? In the near and the shortwave in here in this band, you will have more reflectance. You can understand the shortwave infrared band, sphere band, which is available in this 3. So if the reflectance is less, that means the vegetation is healthy. If the reflectance is more, that means there is a water stress. Okay. If in the NIR region also, you can see the fiber content, the cellular structure plays a role in NIR. If you have broad leaf, in the broad leaf you have more structure. Okay. That is more infrared information will be reflected from the broad leaf. Okay. Not from the pine type of. So chlorophyll content in the green region, this peak is related to the leaf pigment. The percentage of energy reflected in the green is nearly 10 to 20% only. It depends upon the species. And the energy reflected in NIR is only 50% of the energy. Okay. Some of the energy are used for evapotranspiration, right? Also for the chemical process inside. So this is how the energy coming back to the satellite is quantified. Is it okay? Is it what you are expecting to understand how the energy is captured in different bands?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I have one more question, sir. Yeah, because
Okay.
after seeing that, so is it possible to distinguish different trees through this reflection values?
Yes, that is what we are doing the mapping. That's
Is that
exactly
much
what we are
accuracy
doing.
will come? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You see, more span, more spectral bands you have, more accurate will be. Okay, that is why we are talking hyperspectral. There is a hyperspectral sensor that gives you more type mapping accuracy. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, coming back to Ms. Kirti, you were talking about ground validation, especially when you are using a machine learning approach. So machine learning has predicted, okay, this may be this type. Now, because it is a nominal data, how will you validate the accuracy? In terms of quantitative data, you can do RMSE, mean error, mean absolute error. But in terms of nominal data, how will you do? Anybody? Anybody? Any participant? This may be exam question. You also has to give exam, right? In the nominal data, how will you do accuracy evaluation? Come on, anybody? Who can answer? Are you getting my question? Any of you, can you understand my question? I am trying to predict something. While I am predicting, the output is a nominal data. Nominal data means output will be a name. I am predicting a name. Okay, this particular pixel belongs to forest type 1. This pixel particular forest type A. This may be evergreen. This may be semi-evergreen. This may be deciduous. I am giving a name. I am giving a code. 1 represent evergreen, 2 represent semi-evergreen, 3 for deciduous, 4 for something. So I am giving a number in prediction, but they are classes. It is a class. If it is a, suppose if I am predicting a temperature, I have original reference temperature. I can compare, find the difference, find the mean difference, mean the majority difference, median, standard deviation. Many things I can do. But when I am predicting the nominal data, classified map, I am predicting. How will I check the accuracy? Any student, BIT student, PhD scholar, I would like to get the answer.
I think some confusion matrix you have to get that.
Exactly. Confusion matrix. So confusion matrix is the way we have to do that. Then there is a measure, okay? Measure of precision, measure of accuracy, measure. Then there is one F score. They will help you to predict the kind of these things from the confusion matrix. Okay, Ms. Kirti, is it okay?
How did you get? Yeah, how did you get the ground truth data, sir? Could you repeat that? How did you get that ground truth data?
Okay,
Uh,
there are forums. There are freely available maps. Okay, classified map about vegetation type, globally available, that you download. Once you have a type map, this is your area, you know the location, you take randomly 100 points from this and put that 100 points in the reference map and pick up the class. Now you have two columns. One is from your map, what is the vegetation type? Another column from the reference map. Using these two, create a confusion matrix. Is it okay, Dr. Jaypal?
yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So any other question?
Sir, global maps may be a smaller scale, and if someone is doing vegetation type with larger scale, then validation how they will do the ground truthing.
Yes, that is a good point. See, here we are talking about the type. When you go into the high spatial resolution, you will talk about the species because you can see different species also. Okay. Now, for that, you need to go to ground only. Whenever you go to drone data, very high spatial resolution data, you go to ground and then you take a sample. Now, how to take a sample? Okay. Because normally, if you are talking about biodiversity or in terms of biomass, then you need to count the trees. You take a 10 meter by 10 meter sample or 30 meter by 30 meter plot, and then you take a 4 corners, 1 meter by 1 meter, 4 corners, and center 1 meter by 1 meter, and then find out the measure. Go to ground, measure the DBH, diameter at the breast height. Okay. So please kindly mute your audio. There's a noise. Yeah.
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 I have
So,
just one small clarification.
yes, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, when we talk about landscape ecology, so that landscape ecology, how it is factored in this kind of study. I think you already spoke about patch and those kind of things.
Right.
So just looking at landscape ecology angle in such studies.
Correct. So you see, in landscape, whenever we are talking about the landscape, we talk about the structure, function, okay, and then you have a kind of interaction, right? So the dynamics part. So the landscape, if whenever you are talking about landscape ecology, you have to talk about the structure also, physical. That's what in the first slide I addressed. Physical status is one part. And then within the physical status, there is an interaction among the species, another part. And then there comes the drivers. So if you want to address these all together, then we can say a landscape is a broader area. It is not a one pixel. Okay. So it is a bigger region. And then in that region, we call it also in terms of biomes. We can, if you are addressing about the desert ecology, so that means a desert biome or a desert landscape you are taking up. Part of the biome can be a landscape. If
Yeah, in
your
fact,
biome,
that is that is the reason why I asked, because it is a regional level study, large scale,
right?
large area to be covered. So that kind of segregation, uh,
Yes,
maybe the forest types we are talking chronology wise. So
correct.
that is to be affected somewhere.
Yes, because
Those,
you are absolutely right. See, for example, when you take a modest 1 kilometer pixel, 1 kilometer is a huge area. Okay,
yes.
so we are not talking about the species phenology. We are talking about the landscape phenology. Okay, that is actually the terminology is a landscape phenology. That means that landscape, how it is representing majority rhythm with reference to the environmental condition. That is a biome phenology. If you are talking about
Yes.
another level.
Yeah. So we
So
are
if
just
we
concentrating in probably the land cover that is being covered, picked up by the
yes,
satellite data, right?
so yeah, we have multiple scales starting from the landscape to the local species level, but the amount of data you need to process will go enormously high. So what we recommend is you start at the landscape level, maybe at 1 kilometer, go at 250 meter, then go at 50 meter, then go at the another level. So that because our temperature data, precipitation data are not available at a very high spatial resolution. That is the one limitation. So we have a temperature data 1 kilometer,
Right.
rainfall data 25 kilometer or 5 kilometer.
So all different
So
resolutions, yes.
yes,
Right.
if you want to link those vegetation climatic drivers, so we cannot keep the vegetation at 30 meter. We have to upscale it to that level. So that is why. So we are still we have to do a lot of work in that
Okay.
dimension. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So Dr. Rathore, your question of species level that you without ground we cannot really do the accurate mapping. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So we have to go to ground in that case if we
Right.
are doing a larger scale.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
So any question? So Dr. Ravi Ranjan, yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation and your novel work on phenological aspect. Uh, Sir, due to anthropogenic behavior, one report published in Nature last year. They have reported that due to anthropogenic behavior, approx 1 million species are moving towards the extinction. So, are we moving forward in the aspect to means monitor or assess those biodiversity? Means like when we talk about the water bodies which are situated in any towns. For example, we can take Hyderabad, which one is highly polluted. The water bodies are highly polluted, and many of the ecosystem species are being means due to toxicity of those water bodies. Many of the species are being dead. So can we assess those species in different water bodies, or if we talk about different sites?
Okay. So any other question, Mr. Ravi?
No, sir.
Okay. So you see, biodiversity is a very important aspect of our survival, but especially, yes, because every day, suppose when I am moving in a car, so some of the insect may fall, okay, on my screen, and then it may hit and they may die. Okay, some of this minor insect may get crushed with my wheel. So we are unknowingly, we are really impacting the life system, ecosystem in a different scale. That is one aspect. Another aspect is our requirement, everyday requirement of suppose battery. Now battery we have purchased. Once the battery is finished, especially even myself, you see, I feel very sad to say, where what we do with the battery, you know. I don't want to throw the battery out. I want to keep it. I'm collecting the battery. But where will I put that battery? Most of the time we just throw it in the dustbin. Somebody will take away. It is going into the soil, right? And it may accumulate. How many people are using how many batteries? And then tube light. Inside that mercury is there. When you throw that fused tube light away, the mercury is going to the soil. That will go into the groundwater or the water. So the species, that is why the UN report, other reports are really alarming that we are moving toward extinction for sure. Human will extinct because our health depends upon the environmental health. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, are they contaminated? If we say if they are contaminated, we will also be contaminated. So we will bound to get diseases for sure. That is well and said. But your question on biodiversity, by measuring the fish biodiversity, what we will get? You have to understand, okay, we know there are diverse variety of species existing at this point of time in this pond. After 10 years, you may go and measure what is the biodiversity at present. People have already done a study. People are doing, but there is a huge scope. Every city, the people, the institute located in that city, they have to address the nearby watershed, nearby water health, weather thing, instead of talking at the global level. Because being a remote sensing person, so my domain is different, but the ecologists, biologists, geographers, my kind request, please try to focus on your local locality. Try to convert that information into a map and put it in your website, Facebook, wherever you want to publish, put it somewhere. Even there are websites there you can share your data. Okay, you can share the data. That website you upload it. Okay, so Mr. Ravi, there was a project, biodiversity information extraction, biodiversity modeling, biodiversity quantification from the satellite point of view with respect to the forested environment. That project was done by Dr. P.S. Roy. That is available already. That report is available already in the internet, biodiversity report. Please see the report. It will tell you where is the biodiversity rich aspect in India. Okay, where are the potentially disturbance regimes in India? That is available. That is based on ground-based research. I tell you, thousands of researchers, they've gone into forest. They have they have put the ground plot. They measured the number of species. Those information is available in the biodiversity information system. BIS. Please search in the internet BIS. BIS server provides you all those ground sample data information and the map biodiversity related detail. But you are right, biodiversity is decreasing, and yeah, we are in the threat serious position. Yes, Dr. Swagata.
Yeah, good morning, sir. Very nice talk. I don't know when it's a really question or it's a type of curiosity I have, that I just saw that wavelength dependence of different species. I just few times, yeah. So those are maybe due to the leaf color, the size of the leaf, all these things, and that's why that hyperspectral dependency over there. Is there porosity also included? Leaf porosity?
You see, leaf structure means within the leaf, whatever is the chemical or fiber or water content, everything plays a role, everything plays a role. The narrow leaf, because of the structure, they will reflect in a different way. Okay. The circular leaf, they will reflect a different way, differently, the energy. Okay, the broad leaf, they will reflect in a different way. So
because
that
the continuous study I have seen that due to the increase of the pollution, air pollution, the leaf porosity is decreasing and the health of the plant is decreasing. I have seen lot of others.
Right, because you see, when there is suppose if you go on the roadside in metro, along the roadside in the leaf, you see a lot of dust deposited over. Okay.
Yes.
Now, naturally, when the dust is deposited, for our eyes, we are only seeing some kind of white deposit over there. That means the energy coming to our eyes is not green. Okay, it's only reflected. This deposit will reflect all energy equally. Okay, these are high particles. The size of the particle is high, size is more, so they will reflect all energy back. So naturally, this system, the leaf are not getting enough sunlight or nutrient or many things. Sometimes they degrade, but during rainfall, this dust gets washed off. So that is one thanks to nature. Then again they survive. So yes, you are right. Due to pollution, yes, there will be a difference in the energy reflectance pattern, which you can quantify in the lab also. You take the leaf sample from the different center, from the road, You go to 10 meter, take a leaf sample, 20 meter leaf sample, 30 meter leaf sample. You do a buffer analysis, how my pollution deposit, my energy reflectance varies. This can be one good paper one can do.
Yeah, my motivation to ask that question is for that purpose also. Because
Yeah, it is very much. Yeah.
that into ozone,
And it,
the health of the plants are really decreasing.
right.
So, yes. Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
And also you can do a lab analysis. What kind of pollution deposits are there? Okay. That also can be spatially mapped. Yes, Dr. Divya Prakash, do you have any question?
No, sir. No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now the time is up. I think Dr. Rathore, do you want anything to say?
Yes, sir. Yeah, because the next session is going to start. So the resource person is in waiting. So
you have one session on the art of living. When is that?
That has happened, sir. Yes, it was yesterday.
I wanted to attend, but somehow I missed it.
Yes, I did not inform you, did not disturb. Maybe I thought you are busy in some meeting or something. That is why I did not call you. So today we have the next session, that is on microwave remote sensing. Professor from IIT Bombay will take that session. And in the second half, at 2:30, we have session on ocean dynamics. Dr. Mitra will take that session. So we can conclude now this session.
Yeah.
So thank you, Professor Jagannath Sahab, for delivering a wonderful lecture on